Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today, we continue talking about the Space Marines, but we're going to be talking about one of the most famous Space Marine chapters, if not the most famous Space Marine chapter. I'm talking about the Luna Wolves, aka the Sons of Horus, aka the Black Legion. If you guys have any suggestions for other Space Marine legions that you guys would like us to create a video for, please comment down below. Don't forget to put suggestion followed by whatever Space Marine legion you guys want to hear about. The reason for that is that we're tallying all that stuff up and we're showing it, or we're doing the videos as we go. With that said, let's get into 40 facts about the Luna Wolves. The Luna Wolves were the 16th Space Marine Legion raised by the Emperor of Mankind on Terra at the dawn of the Great Crusade in the late 30th millennium. Few other legions could match their achievements, and of those that could, even fewer could rival the 16th Legion for the brightness with which their victories shone. In the time when the Emperor's eye first began to fall beyond Terra, he raised new armies to fight the Great Crusade. From willing Terran volunteers, the 16th Space Marine Legion were implanted with the gene seed of their missing Primarch, Horus, like all other Astartes of the first founding Legion. These recruits were also drawn from parts of the Emperor's subjugated enemies, and together they represented the first generation of Space Marines. The 16th Legion drew all of its first recruits from the Terran population, though it is difficult to be certain based on the existing Imperial records from this lost time. There are indications that many of the 16th Legion's early intakes came from the hunter clans of the Judagram Bowl and the Sumsterian subplateau slums. Perpetual conflict and the harshness of life on the desolate margins of Terran society had given these people the hard edge of ruthlessness and independence that would serve the Space Marines well. The 16th Legion made war with abrasive aggression, perhaps through the influence of their genetic heritage or the use the Emperor put them to. The Space Marines of the 16th Legion became synonymous with sudden and overwhelming shock assaults. To the 16th Legion fell the swift prosecution of battle and the bloody termination of campaigns. The first pacification of Luna was perhaps the most famous of these early victories of the 16th Legion, but the breaking of the Coriolis enclaves and the 5 winters left scars in the collective consciousness of Terran society that persisted even now. In the Carpidian Sinks, it is still common for traders and gamblers to refer to the Legion's ancient number of 16 as the counting of the wolf. It is said that the Astartes of the 16th Legion were unleashed to begin and end wars their enemies did not even know they were fighting. They would come out of the night or in the dawn, carried in the holds of stormbirds and storm eagles, flanked by squadrons of escorting lightning crows. Those who witnessed such attacks say the 16th Legion were fighting eye to eye with the enemy before the thunder of their first volley of missiles and shell strikes had faded. The warriors who fought these battles were of the character wholly in keeping with their reputation, proud, little given to humor or empathy, nor mysticism or even the ritual of the military elite. They were a breed apart from the true human forces that had fought at their side. Their aggression was clear in every action, but so was the strength of the control that held it in check, and the needs of the ancient age easily accommodated such a belligerent attitude. At some time, the notion of the Emperor sending his wolves to break potential enemies took root in the consciousness of the newborn Imperium of Man, especially with the pacification of Luna in the late 30th millennium, which had considered by many to be the first battle of the Great Crusade. The 16th Legion embraced the name Luna Wolves, which they earned after this campaign. The wolf's head became a common icon for the Astartes of the 16th Legion, the link being somewhat abstract, as the Terran animals, once called wolves, had been almost extinct for millennia, largely relegated to the existence as gene stock for engineered bioweapon beasts on Terra itself, though the name remains synonymous in most Terran dialects with controlled savagery. The wearing of pellets of such augmented canine predators increasingly marked out the field commanders and officers of the Luna Wolves. The 16th Legion would not be the only Space Marine Legion to bear such a title and embrace their imagery as their own, but they were the first. When the 16th Legion were given the name Luna Wolves, they began to wear pale off-white ivory-colored power armor with black trim. the two renowned squadrons of the elite First Company, the Justarian and Kaloon Reavers, wore black-colored power armor, in sharp contrast to the white and later pale green of the rest of the Legion. The Luna Wolves were the first Space Marines to begin recruiting from another world beyond Terra. In this case, the new pool of aspirants was found amongst the adolescent human males drawn from the violent Hive City gangs inhabiting an ancient former mining world that had developed into a feral world called Sithonia. Sithonia was located in one of Terra's closest neighboring star systems in the Segmentum Solar, and was within reach of spacecraft that could travel at only sublight velocities before the invention of warp drives. As a result, Sithonia had been colonized, built upon, tunneled, and mined since the dawn of humanity's interstellar space travel millennia, before the beginning of the Dark Age of technology. Due to this unusually long period of exploitation by mankind, all of the world's natural resources had been stripped away and used by centuries before, and the ancient mining technology had long since been rediscovered and removed by the tech adepts of Mars. The planet that remained was largely useless and abandoned, completely riddled with catacombs, crumbling industrial plants, and exhausted mining workings. It was on this planet that the first Primarch was found by the Emperor. Horus was found at a much younger age because of the close proximity to Terra, whereas the early history of many Primarchs is extensively, if not unevenly, documented. The same cannot be said of Horus. Contradictions and omissions tarnish all accounts of Horus's formative years. It is clear that the Emperor did find Horus, and also that he took command of the 16th Legion early on in the Great Crusade. Some sources say that Horus grew at the Emperor's side, learning from his father even as they took back the Sol System and forged the alliance between the techno-barbarian nations of Terra, and with the Tech Mechanicus that created the Imperium of Man. Nevertheless, Horus was given command of his legion, which had already come to be known as the Luna Wolves, 10,000 Astartes created from his own genetic code. With these superhuman warriors to lead, Horus accompanied the Emperor for the first 30 standard years of the Great Crusade. Together, they forged the initial interstellar expansion of the young Imperium of Man. By the time the Great Crusade began, Sithonia's mines were long spent, but it had resources that the new Imperium needed more than metals and jewels. Hardened fighters and born survivors in their millions. A lean and hungry race of killers with no illusions about the horrors of the universe. Sithonia, relatively close to Terra in the Void, and with whom some minor contact had been maintained even through the Age of Strife, had its murderous and strife-torn population marked by one of the first expeditionary fleets to leave the Sol System. To fuel the growth of the early Space Marine legions, the Imperium took full advantage of the bounty that Sithonia provided. At the time of the first founding, Sithonia already helped provide the necessary flesh for the Selenar gene rights of Luna to fuel the growth of the early Legiones Astartes. One report talks of so-called Imperial recruitment squads harvesting tens of thousands of Sithonian gangers and shipping them away, chaining together in holds of prison shuttles to the genolaboratories of Luna's Selenar gene rights. The majority were impressed as troopers for the Great Crusade's Imperial Army regiments, but the finest specimens were taken for induction into the Space Marine legions. On Luna, these chosen sons of the Sithonia were reborn as superhuman Astartes of the 16th Legion. It was more common for the first Space Marine aspirants to be adolescent volunteers from Terra, and later in the Great Crusade after the rediscovery of the Primarchs from Pharaoh and feudal worlds. Yet after the usual psychohypnotic indoctrination and mental conditioning processes, the Luna Wolves, created from the men of Sithonia, emerged as excellent and ferociously powerful Space Marines. With the induction of the gene stock from Sithonia, the 16th Legion was remade. For the Terran Space Marines, who had already constituted the core of the Legion, their new brothers brought with them their own customs, attitudes, and modes of thought. The ingrained inheritance of 1,000 generations of callous violence and ruthless pursuits of survival that had indoctrinated practices of the time could modify and perhaps suppress, but not entirely erase, which was perhaps the point of the Sithonians' inclusion within the Legion. As the Terran legionnaires fell in battle, their voices and the more ordered military traditions they had been trained in became fewer and fainter within the 16th Legion. The mark of change were many and subtle, not overriding entirely the Legion's culture, but bringing a unique character to what had gone before. Examples of this change came slowly. The topknots and mohawks commonly sported by Sithonian ganger headhunters became common throughout the ranks of the Lunawolves, as both additions to their armor and as personal decoration. One avatar of the increasing influence of the Legion's Sithonian brothers was the later re-emergence of Sithonian gang sigils into given Space Marine armor that recorded their noble kills and deeds, as well as to which company of the Legion they belonged to. After being wounded in battle by a worthy foe, it was common for a Lunawolf Astarte to honor the valor of their fallen enemy by making a deep scratch in the ceramite across their helm's eye socket. Perhaps most telling, the Sithonian word for cutting the throat of an enemy ganger killer in single combat, Akabath, became a common term in the ranks for describing the completion of a campaign. The personal charisma and reputation of a commander with the Legion came to apply to the Astartes under his command, as if the ways of the Sithonian gang lords now informed the Lunawolves' own understanding of leadership. This applied particularly to the Lunawolves' Primarch Horus, after his rediscovery by the Emperor, as his cult of personality was universal within the Legion, and all Lunawolves came to revere the Lupercal to an extent that would ultimately prove their undoing. The strength of the Lunawolves in battle did not change or weaken after the inclusion of the Sithonians. If anything, the Legion seemed to become even more potent over time. The Legion strove to maintain the required flexibility needed to allow them to fight any war or any enemy they might encounter on their own terms. But where possible, the application of sudden and overwhelming force was usually their favored form of attack. As a doctrine, this became bound up with the Legion's savage ferociousness that was born of the Sithonian blood, and wielded with ferocious intelligence and matchless tactical instinct of Horus. A star system targeted for Imperial compliance would often fall to the Legion in a single engagement. Lunawolf starships would cut in from system's edge, forming a spear formation that would break into many smaller blade tips to strike at the target system's planet, moons, and space stations. Orbital bombardments and simultaneous mass orbital drops would break the enemy's strength and will to resist. Tactical threats were systematically identified, isolated, outflanked, encircled, and destroyed with merciless precision. Close-quarter savagery, which spoke of apex predators splitting a herd and gunning its members with lightning fury. The Imperial Army troops that followed in the Lunawolf's wake often had little to do but scrape suddenly compliant worlds clean of the livings of battle. The Lunawolf's approach to the Great Crusade was direct and brutal, and the results were often elegant, if unmistakably efficient. Though it proved bloody, the 16th Legion's progress was undoubtedly swift, and laurels of victory were heaped upon the Lunawolves, and above all else their Primarch Horus, the most beloved son of the Emperor. Time and time again, the Lunawolves would break resistance on a world and move on to the next campaign with barely a backward glance. The character of the Lunawolves' tenacity and ruthlessness was displayed during the initial Imperial conquest of the Sol System. They prosecuted battles with the same savage mentality and ferociousness displayed during the gang wars of Sithonia, where prisoners were simply unwanted mouths to feed. War was a matter of identifying the strengths and leadership of the enemy, isolating it, and then obliterating it. In the same way, the gang leaders' eyes would find a rival and their knives would quickly follow. So the Lunawolves conquered entire star systems. Brutal it might have been, but to the Space Marines of the Lunawolves, it was a matter of necessity. Wars were either brutal and short, or they would become long and wasteful. Driven by the energy of the Great Crusade, the 16th Legion's methods fit the needs of the Imperium's rapid expansion. And those were 40 facts about the Lunawolves. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to learn about Lupercal Horus or Horus Lupercal, I forget. The Primarch of the Luna Wolves. Please check out our 40 facts on Horus. If you want to learn about the Horus Heresy, please check out our playlist on the Horus Heresy. We have that on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel because there's going to be a part 2 where we talk about pretty much everything Luna Wolves. So the Luna Wolves coming into the Sons of Horus and then going into the Black Legion. This is one of those Space Marine chapters that can't pick a name. They're constantly changing their name. So again, guys, thank you so much for liking, commenting, and sharing. Because of you, we can continue to put out more lore videos for you guys. By you guys liking videos and sharing on Twitter, Facebook, and whatnot, you help the channel grow and you get more content in that way. If you guys want to help us a little bit more, jump on over to our Patreon channel. It's a simple $1 a month, and you get 2 lore videos every single day on YouTube, and we're going to start putting out extra stuff, or we're already putting out extra stuff on Patreon. So if you want some cool exclusive Patreon videos, jump on over there, support us. And again, guys, thank you so much for all that you do, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.